demonstration, we're going to walk through deploying private service edges for ESXi. So we'll start off by looking at the enrollment certificates for a chain of trust. So I have my root certificate authority, which is an internally signed certificate authority, and my client connectors are established from the same chain of trust, and I have my private service edge for the same chain of trust, and my app connectors are the same chain of trust. So I'm going to come into administration. I'm going to scroll down to service edges. I'm going to add a service edge, and I'm going to create a new provisioning key. And for that signing certificate, I need to select the private service edge to make sure there is the chain of trust between the clients, the app connectors, and the service edges. So I click Next. I'm going to add a service edge group, and I'm going to call this my Milton Keynes data center. And I define which of the trusted networks should users have configured on their machines, and the client connector identifies so that they connect to this service edge. So I'll select my data center and my branch. I provide a location, Milton Keynes, and it drops it there. But this is not publicly accessible. I'm not going to use this over the internet. I will use the public data centers when I'm off network, and I will use this private service edge when I'm on network to provide me with universal ZTNA. So I click Next. I give my provisioning key a name, Milton Keynes, and I say maximum 10 usages for that. Click Next, click Save, and then I will be shown the provisioning key, and I'll copy that to the clipboard. We can go off and we can read the different deployment documentations. That's fine. I'll click Done, and I'll come along to my ESXi, and I will then click Create Register VM. I'll select an OVA file, and I'll click Next. And I'll call this WG Service Edge MK. And I'll drag and drop the file from here. Drag and drop the file from here onto my service edge, and I'll click Next, Next. Oh, actually, I want to deploy this to data store 2. Click Next, and click Finish. And we'll see this file gets uploaded relatively quickly. It's a fast network connection. And there we go. So if I scroll down, I've got my service edge MK. I could open this up and we'll see it boot. Okay, so I can log in, admin, default password is Zscaler, and the first thing I need to do is systemctl enable SSHD and systemctl start SSHD. So the SSHD process is running, so I can come across to my terminal window, and I can, first off I need to do is know what the IP address is. ifconfig 192.168.1.73. So I can SSH to admin at 192.168.1.73. Password, I'll sudo to root. Okay, so I can cd to opt Zscaler var service edge. I can systemctl stop ZPA service edge. And you can see there's no files in the directory, so what I'll do is I'll vi the provision underscore key file, press I for insert, paste that in, write and quit, and I can systemctl start ZPA service edge. And obviously you can deploy this programmatically. If you're using vSphere, you wouldn't need to enable SSHD. You can drop the file in there as part of its installation, and it'll auto provision. But we're doing this manually, that's why we've enabled SSH and we're copying the files in. So if we look in here, we can see that that provision key has been encrypted, which should be used for if it needed to re-enroll for some reason. We can see it's generated a private key that's been encrypted, which exists here. It's chained up to the root and it's enrolled in the system. So if we come across to Google Chrome now, and we have a look in here, we can refresh and we can see that the connector has enrolled. We've got its public IP address, we've got its private IP address, and it's scheduled for an upgrade. So it'll have downloaded the new version of the software as part of its installation, so we can systemctl restart ZPA service edge just to force that upgrade to take place. Systemctl status ZPA service edge. Let's go -L, and we can see that the version and it's upgraded and everything's looking good. And we can refresh this page now, and it's upgraded and it's connected. So if we go ahead and we'll launch the Zscaler client on my machine, we'll open this up. It's going to go through the single sign-on process. Azure AD is going to prompt me for multi-factor authentication somewhere. And I approve that on my device. And I'm now enrolled. If we open up the Zscaler Client Connector, you see that Client Connector has connected to the broker 192.168.1.73, which is the private service edge we've deployed. So we'll go ahead, we'll open up a new tab, we'll go to apache.welshgeek.net, which is one of our private access applications, and that's rendered itself in the browser. And if we come across to the private access administration console, go to diagnostics, we can see some other connections. That private access Apache website hasn't appeared in here yet. And our logs, but we can see my client was already connected to my domain controller through the service edge here, identified as Milton Keynes, to the app connector of Milton Keynes, and all of the policy is passing through. We refresh, and we can see the Apache website there through the private service edge and through the app connector, all keeping these things local for the universal ZTNA implementation.